Hey guys, back here again with another review, and today we're going to be talking about the third studio album from contemporary pop band the 1975 with a brief inquiry into online relationships. Since about 2 years since their sophomore album, I Like It When You Sleep For You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It, they started releasing singles once a month pretty much. What eventually ended up being a grand total of 5 singles before the actual release of the album. I definitely care a bit more this time through with the album, as like their last two I just didn't run into it. It wasn't like I disliked it or anything, and I still actually need to go listen to the last two albums and of their entirety. But it was like I just liked a few songs off of each and never really I don't know, I just didn't really care that in depth about the 1975. But this time, after hearing the singles, I was a bit more inclined to go and take a look. And I think it should be noted, as far as critical acclaim goes, this is one of the highest of the year. Like right now, as of recording, I believe it's at an 89 on Metacritic, which is insanely high. As tradition for the band, the album opens up with a track named after the band themselves in the 1975, with a reproduced re-instrumental of the previous two albums, but the vocals stay the same. It's just a different time through, every time just evolving and a bit more. Using Bon Iver-esque vocal filters and a light piano to touch it off, as well as a few vocal samples and effects here and there, it's a very filling start to the album. The lead single, Give Yourself a Try, blasts into the ear of the listener after the very delicate opener. A scraping guitar lead and very fast-paced drums take the song by storm before the lead singer Matt Healy's vocals come in sweeping through. The first few times I gave this track a listen, I found it a little annoying, as that guitar is just so glaring and just in your face, but eventually I did start to get used to it, and now I do even like it a little bit. And in a way, it made me like the song a lot better, because I was then able to appreciate the rest of the song, because in the past I was just kind of just hearing that guitar and I just couldn't get over it, so I wasn't really able to listen to the rest because it just distracted me and annoyed me. But now that I've gotten used to it and have warmed up to it a bit, I find the rest of the track to be, well, great. The third single and the third track on the album, Two Time, is a much more regulated pop sound. For me, what I found to be really interesting about the track was the chorus, where the rest of it, like I said, does just sound like a more regulated pop song, but the chorus is just so catchy. Although the lyrics do seem to lack a little bit on this one, which I do find kind of odd considering they're like a sophisticated pop band, and that's really kind of something they make their mark on. On the flip side of that, though, the track Sincerity is Scary is quite the opposite. The lyrics are so sly and original with rhyme patterns that I haven't really seen before. And I also want to talk about the production and including other vocals on this track. Perfectly crafted trumpets built into this thing, as well as a choir that's used perfectly. It just combines all just to be a fantastic sound, with it really sounding just like great modern pop. Yeah? Nope, redoing that. See, now I know you're listening. Just like, don't listen. A perfectly crafted trumpets, as well as precisely used choir, really top this thing off, giving such a calm and relaxing feeling. Paired with these trumpets and choir, it's an odd combination, but it works quite well. And almost feeling nostalgic too, where it's almost impossible to describe, as it is a modern sounding song that just gives off a feeling of like, well, when I was a kid. And then there's the track It's Not Living If It's Not With You, which is in their most 70s sounding track on here. Instrumentally sounding like The Sound and Chocolate off the last two albums, they obviously have a certain knack for making 70s music that just sounds modern. There's also the wide range and mix of production throughout this entire album. For example, like on the song How to Draw / Protractor, something like that. Like the intro track, it takes advantage of those very vibrant vocal effects and puts them on full effect for about the first 2.5 minutes of the track. And some more instrumental backing on it keeps it a bit more interesting, as the first track, if it was much longer, wouldn't be as pleasing, as it might have gotten a little bit boring. But here, with some more piano and just noise in general, it is a bit more enjoyable for a longer period of time. Right around 2.5 minutes though, the vocals just die off for a while, and in comes one of the most lively and new sounding drum patterns that I've heard all year, with very occasional colorful pop, just roomy synths that boom in and really set the atmosphere. It's a great sounding instrumental in the middle of the track. Finally, to close the track, there's some pitched down vocals that just go right inside of that beat that was built for the last few minutes. Those pitched down vocals just do something else to the rest of the track at the end, really just being a quite short ending, but it just kind of puts that atmospheric feeling of the song to another level, being a better unorthodox ending or track to one I've heard all year. Then near the middle of the album, there is the story, the kind of interlude thing, The Man Who Married a Robot, accompanied by a dreary but somewhat happy piano. It's really an odd experience, read off by a very realistic sounding robot. It tells the story of a man that falls in love with the internet. And all these positives make for such a great wide-ranging sound and good aspects just all across the board. There were so many just good parts here and there that I found to be interesting, that weren't always consistent throughout the other tracks, but they always got something right where it was enough for me to really enjoy a lot of the tracks. However, though, there were some that I just didn't find as, well, good. Love It If We Made It, the second single, also has one of those 70s styles on it, and the vocals on it, I just don't enjoy. It just sounds boring after a while, where he just repeats the same vocal pattern over and over and over until the chorus, which is the title of the track, repeated over and over and over for sounding exactly the same. And so other than the instrumental, which is pretty, like I said, it's just a nice 70s sounding instrumental, the song is pretty boring. I also found the more acoustic tracks, Be My Mistake and Mine, to just not be as interesting, where it just doesn't have like the production value that a lot of the other ones do, where it is just kind of that guitar and a little bit of background noise here and there, but it's just lacking. Be My Mistake does have that kind of sporadic piano that's very fluttery and in the background that you hear quite often throughout the album. That's pretty interesting, but it isn't accompanied by much of the very interesting other aspects that a lot of the other songs have. And then Mine just kind of sounds like an average downbeat pop track from an indie band, really with no defining aspect to it whatsoever. And then there's also the track Inside Your Mind, which I found the vocal performance on to just be creepy, strange, and odd. Like, it just doesn't sound normal. It may have been intentionally, but to me it just kind of creeps me out and makes me not want to listen to that song at all. Like, he hits such a low register and just kind of sticks with it for a majority of the track, and it's just so drawn out and slow. It feels like he's creeping around in my room as he sings. The 1975 show a mountain of talent on a handful of songs, but at the same time there is also another handful that just misses it with mistakes here and there, and not the interesting parts that were on those great tracks are just nowhere to be found on those others. And while it does have a nice flow, as a lot of them do kind of keep the same aesthetic and sound, those tracks that just don't live up to the others, they just don't whatsoever, and it just kind of makes me feel odd and creepy when those songs that don't have as much character or interesting aspects come on, because all I can think about is the creepiness of it and not the interesting sound. So in the end, I'm gonna give this album a 7. So let me know what you guys thought of the album, what I should review next. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time. See ya. Bye.